Our hero in this material is someone who absolutely dominated the world of weightlifting in the early 1980s. His achievements set new limits in the awareness of human abilities, and he broke one world record after another. The only man in history who was no longer invited to competitions because, as the WSM statement says, he was too dominant. He has given himself the title of the strongest man ever on this planet, and he has created a whole arsenal of arguments to prove this statement. I bring you the strongest man of 1980, 81, and 82, Bill Kazmaier. Before dedicating himself entirely to weightlifting, Kaz was a star in American football in high school, and afterwards he played for his university's academic team. Kazmaier is the first man ever to lift 300 kilograms on a horizontal bench without assistance, which is probably a good reflection of what an outstanding powerlifter he was. And that is just one of the 3 records he set in 1981. The 420 kilograms in the squat and 380 kilograms in the deadlift achieved in the same competition. Therefore, an incredible 1,100 kilograms in total were unreachable by anyone in the same category until 2004. The record of 402 kilograms in the deadlift, which he set at the end of 1981, remained until 1988. Kazmaier's 2 IPF world titles in 1979 and 1983 were accompanied by numerous injuries. These included his hip, which he had injured before winning the championships, and his chest, in which a hole would remain forever. However, these injuries did not prevent him from winning the title of the world's strongest man 3 times in a row, an achievement that so far has only been repeated by Magnus Ver Magnusson. However, Magnusson was still invited to competitions after his last success. It is very likely that Kaz could have won the title at least 2 more times, which would have made him the most successful strongman in WSM history alongside Mariusz Pudzianowski. So let's take a look at what the American achieved before he was banned from competition. After a promising debut in 1979, where Bill found himself on the bottom step of the podium, Kazmaier gave his opponents no chance in the competition held a year later, winning 6 of the 10 events. This meant that second-placed Swede Lars Hedlund had an impressive 28 points less after the final competition. Such a domination in the world of strongmen usually only happened when Mariusz Pudzianowski was in top form. Once Kazmaier was fully established in powerlifting, he not only occupied the top step of the podium, but also did what he had familiarized his fans with, setting world records. Whoever had doubts about Kaz's immense power in the deadlift, he dispelled them by setting records in 4 different types of the sport. For example, 415 kilograms in the raw deadlift at the Highland Games. Interestingly, the officially declared weight was 404 kilograms, but the barbell was re-weighed and 11 kilograms were added to Bill's result. He also lifted the wheels of a car that weighed 1,159 kilograms, 478 kilograms in the so-called silver dollar deadlift, which means using a bar that is twice as high as a normal bar, with a weight consisting of blocks filled with coins, and 510 kilograms for the Hungarian car deadlift, a version with an even shorter range of motion. He also set a record of 440 kilograms in the squat on the so-called Smith machine, threw a weight over a 5-meter high bar with one hand, and lifted a wooden log weighing 170 kilograms. The way Kazmaier lifted these logs was also astonishing, because even with the heaviest weights, he did not rest them on his chest, but performed the lift in one movement, while other competitors like Sigmarsson placed the log on their heads, what was allowed back then. However, all these incredible numbers do not reflect what a showman Kaz was. He was so incredibly focused in every competition that he looked like a beast in human skin, and he also had a character and ego all of his own. In 1981, powerlifter Dave Waddington took part in the competition. At the time, he had the reputation of having the strongest legs in the world. After winning the squat competition with the aforementioned record of 440 kilograms, Kaz addressed the audience by pointing his finger at his own legs and announced, "These are the strongest legs." Another example of his personality is his statement in which he called himself the strongest man in world history, which was not far from the truth and was confirmed by a comment made by 2-time world champion Jeff Capes from Great Britain. When asked to comment on Kazmaier's words, he said, "To be honest, I have to agree with Bill. In the last 10 years that I've competed with him, I've never won against him, apart from the Highland Games. So I have to agree. I believe he's the strongest man who ever lived." In addition to his athletic achievements and the respect he generates among his opponents, Kaz's impressive physique with monstrous traps is also worth mentioning. Finally, the last point I would like to emphasize when introducing this incredible athlete is his unique mental attitude and determination. I probably don't need to mention that Kaz was able to push himself to the edge of insanity in order to prepare his body to reach its limits. But I think one certain situation in his career clearly shows why Kazmaier was invited to the sport departments of various universities as a motivator for many years. During the final contest of WSM in 1982, which was a duel in sumo wrestling, footage shows how the American almost turns into the Hulk before his fight against John Gamble. As he explains in an interview, Kaz suffered a very nasty thigh injury during his squat before this duel and claimed he couldn't even walk. Nevertheless, he was able to hide this fact in front of his opponents, and the aggression he demonstrated before entering the mat caused Gamble to basically flee out of the ring before Kazmaier started to attack. This is the portrait of a man who is considered by many, including Zydrunas Savickas himself, to be the strongest man of all time. Let us know in the comments how many World's Strongest Man titles you think Bill Kazmaier would have won if they had kept inviting him to this competition. That was Steel Shock. See you next time.